Did you ever look into an animal's eyes and feel like you've known them forever? Like that connection goes beyond time, beyond life, even beyond the space around you? This deep, almost mystical feeling is more common than we think and carries a meaning that goes far beyond what our eyes can see. Maybe, in that moment, without words, you two were exchanging something that can't be explained by simple tail wags or purrs. It's a silent dialogue of souls recognizing each other. Have you ever felt that? If so, leave a comment telling your story, like this video, and subscribe to continue this fascinating journey about the invisible bonds that unite humans and animals. Now let's explore together what's behind this overwhelming feeling, this reconnection with something greater. Imagine for a moment that, just like us, animal souls also live stories in cycles that repeat and intersect, not just in this life, but in many others. This idea invites us to a deeper, more spiritual perspective, where the visible mixes with the invisible and everything gains new meaning. When we recognize this bond, we see our animal friends not just as mere companions, but as eternal journey partners who chose to be by our side to fulfill missions that go beyond the here and now. But how do we understand this connection? Life, in its purest essence, goes far beyond the physical. There's an energetic web, an invisible fabric that intertwines all souls in a cosmic tapestry. Imagine a vast universe of light, where golden threads of energy unite every being, forming groups called soul families. In these families, spirits who recognize each other by affinity and purpose decide to meet repeatedly in various forms in several incarnations to grow, learn, and transform together. It's no coincidence that your favorite animal appears in your life precisely when you most need love, protection, or healing. This encounter was planned on very subtle levels even before we were born. Within this tangle of connections is the concept of spiritual contracts, silent agreements made between souls. Before each life, on higher planes, beings decide their journeys, who will meet whom, and with what mission. It's as if they've reserved the roles each will play for the evolution of both. Many of these contracts include animals who will come as guides, teachers, or even guardians, bringing precious lessons in exchange for that companionship and unconditional love. That's why, when a dog, cat, or any other being approaches us, that relationship carries a much more valuable and spiritual baggage than we can imagine. But what about these reunions? What if I told you that your animal's gaze isn't just a look, that there, in the sparkle of that pupil, is a soul that has walked with yours in other lives? Stories of recognition are moving accounts that cross cultures and eras. How many times have you heard or experienced the moment an animal came into your life exactly when you felt that inexplicable emptiness? That feeling of "I know you," which can't be explained by words or rational explanations. Perhaps, in that instant, your soul remembered ancient ties, memories kept deep down, in a place where past and present met with a single intention: reunion. Remember that time your pet seemed to understand your emotions better than anyone, that their gestures seemed to carry an ancient wisdom. It wasn't genetic programming or natural instincts that created this connection, but an energetic affinity built over several incarnations, where roles were exchanged, blended, and strengthened. The animal that comforts you today might have been a protector, a friend, or even a teacher in previous lives. This idea resonates with those who feel a silent and powerful presence by their side, even in moments of greatest loneliness. And we're not just talking about personal experiences, but about an ancient wisdom that spans millennia. Ancient civilizations like Egypt, which revered cats, dogs, and other beings as deities, shamanic cultures, which saw animals as spiritual guides, or the teachings of mystics like Edgar Cayce, who spoke of the animal soul and its deep connection with the human soul. These traditions not only recognized this bond, but considered it sacred. In their narratives, animals were portals to spiritual worlds, companions on the great journey of the soul. This shows that the connection between humans and animals is inscribed in our collective unconscious and speaks directly to our oldest archetypes, that of the caregiver, the warrior, the healer, and the eternal friend. Whether in the sands of the Nile or the sacred forests of the shamans, there was a clear understanding. Animals are not just creatures of this material world, but beings with purpose and mission, linked to the spiritual evolution of man. This perspective broadens how we view our ties with them, leading us to value every moment and every gesture. When we accept this vision, we begin to perceive animals not just as animals, but as companion souls who have agreed to be with us to fulfill specific missions, with mutual learning and protection. And what would this pact be, if not a soul contract between species? Imagine that, before we incarnate, there's a meeting on the higher planes, where humans and animals meet to choose their paths together. In this conscious choice, they define who will be the guardian, who will be the protected, who will be the healer, and even those who will show the way in moments of darkness. It's a divine game of exchange and balance, where souls intertwine in roles that are not always fixed, but adapt to the lessons to be learned. Often, what was protection in one life transforms into healing in another, or the teacher becomes the student, in an eternal dance of mutual evolution. Perhaps in that small wagging tail, or in that fixed gaze, there's a soul that centuries ago chose again to be by your side, as a guardian or as a friend. This inversion of roles isn't rare. The animal that protects you today might have been someone who in another life received your protection. The awareness of this spiritual contract invites us to look with more respect, gratitude, and humility at the beings who walk by our side, at this companionship that goes far beyond the physical. It's a sacred exchange of energy and love, made even before our bodies were born. But how does this communication happen? If not by words or common verbal language, what would be the means that so deeply unites these souls? The answer lies in telepathic communication and the energetic exchanges that permeate all truly deep relationships. Humans and animals frequently communicate through channels that transcend the physical, through feelings, dreams, synchronicities, and subtle perceptions that warn or comfort us. Who hasn't dreamed of their pet when they were far away, or felt a sudden need to rush home, even before knowing something was wrong? These are invisible bridges that connect hearts and minds in a silent dialogue. These higher communication channels are older than human speech and have roots in the essence of the soul, which seeks to understand itself and relate to other souls. That's why unexpected changes in animal behavior can be important signs, like alerts for dense energies, signs of danger, or even indications that the animal is absorbing suffering to calm its human. This energetic exchange happens in the invisible field that surrounds both, where emotions, fears, and joys are shared in a constant flow. It's a type of communication that doesn't depend on words, but on the depth of feeling and conscious presence. Think about the last time an animal stayed by your side exactly when you needed comfort, or when they seemed to understand a situation that even you couldn't explain. This ability to capture energies and respond to them demonstrates a much higher role than simple coexistence. They are true energetic healers, beings who absorb emotional pain and balance the home with their presence. Some become alerts against invisible dangers, others are anchors of stability in an emotional storm, and all offer an unconditional love that touches the deepest layers of our being. Every moment shared with them carries this silent message that everything is connected, that love transcends the physical, and that these souls walk with us for reasons greater than simple companionship. If you've felt this at some point, that's confirmation that your bond with that animal is more than special. It's eternal. Want to continue delving into this incredible spiritual journey? Have you ever felt that your pet is more than just a companion? Share your connection stories in the comments, what you believe about this soul bond. Your story can transform the experience of others seeking the same understanding. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel to explore more content that touches the invisible, unravels mysteries, and brings light to your soul. Together, we form a community of hearts, awakened to the love that crosses lives. Now let's move on to the next chapters of this fascinating story, where we'll unravel even more mysteries of the bond between humans and animals, delving into what our traditions and ancient wisdom have to teach us. Long before modern words, before science and the boundaries between species, our ancestors knew, they felt with their bodies and souls, that animals were much more than instinctive creatures. They were guides, living bridges between the physical and spiritual worlds. In the golden sands of ancient Egypt, in the deep forests of shamanic civilizations, and in the sacred pages of forgotten manuscripts, animals always held a place of honor, a place of power. Have you ever wondered why in so many cultures animals were worshipped as gods? Why did the cat accompany the pharaohs, resting its watchful gaze beside thrones and tombs? Or why did shamans paint wolves, eagles, snakes, and jaguars on cave walls as if invoking ancestral spirits? In ancient Egypt, animals weren't just companions, they were representations of deities. Bastet, the cat goddess, cared for fertility and the serenity of the home. Anubis, with his jackal's head, guarded the rites of passage and the balance between worlds. It wasn't just symbolic imagination. For the Egyptians, animals embodied spiritual forces, divine archetypes, intelligences that directly participated in the evolution of human souls. Among the Andean peoples, llamas, snakes, and even hummingbirds were cosmic messengers. In Japanese mythology, foxes, kitsune, could be protective spirits or guardians of hidden teachings. And in indigenous shamanism, it was common to hear, "The animal chooses the human, not the other way around." This choice was seen as a pact, which could last entire lifetimes. Edgar Cayce, one of the greatest sources of mystical wisdom of the 20th century, spoke about the energy of the animal soul and how it vibrates in resonance with the human soul. According to Cayce, certain animals connect with us because they have already shared learnings in past lives or are connected to us in higher spiritual spheres. He said that, often, animals return with the mission of helping us awaken forgotten gifts, heal emotional wounds, or protect us from invisible energies. This ancient wisdom, which crosses continents and eras, continues to pulsate in our cells. No matter how much modern society has forgotten rituals, myths, and sacred respect for animals, something within us recognizes there's something in them that echoes as eternal. And this deep echo is the memory that they have been with us before and continue to return. What our ancestors told us symbolically and ritualistically, we now touch with the sensibility of the heart. The bonds between humans and animals are not new. They are as old as the stars. They are pacts of souls that reunite. Let's talk then about these pacts. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine a higher plane before birth. There's no time, no space, just light and consciousness in its purest form. In this subtle space, souls meet. They recognize each other, look beyond form, beyond species, and choose each other. This is where the so-called soul contracts are born, spiritual agreements made between beings who wish to evolve together through earthly experience. What if I told you that you and your animal have walked together even before this life? That perhaps you have swapped roles countless times? Sometimes protector, sometimes protected. Perhaps in another journey you were the one who healed, and now in this life he is the one who heals you. These contracts are not signed with ink but with intention. The animal's soul makes itself available to live difficult experiences, abandoning its elevated plane to enter the density of matter, enduring pain, aging, physical challenges, all to walk by your side and help you remember what you truly are. Many of these pacts have specific purposes. Some are here to protect you from deep emotional traumas, others to remind you what it means to trust and love unconditionally. There are those who simply come to hold your hand or your paw in the darkest moments. It's no coincidence that so many moving stories talk about animals that appeared in someone's life after grief, depression, an accident, a loss. They don't just appear, they respond to an energetic call that was agreed upon before birth. These animal souls know exactly when to enter, and often they also know when it's time to leave. This cycle, although painful here on Earth, is part of a larger plan. The animal's soul returns, fulfills its mission, and sometimes comes back again, in another body, to continue what it started. Some say that childhood pet and adult pet are the same spirit in two different bodies. Stories of people who distinctly feel that the new animal has identical gestures, the same gaze, or specific reactions that couldn't be a coincidence. The same kind of protection, the same way of comforting, of sleeping in the same place, of reacting the same way to the owner's sadness or joy. These reunions are not emotional fantasies. They are fragments of a greater truth that our souls feel, even if our minds try to rationalize. Soul recognizes soul, and the contract, once initiated, is eternal. Animals don't talk to us the same way humans do. But does that mean they don't tell us anything? Quite the opposite. Communication between humans and their spiritual companions happens through channels much deeper than words. It's energy, it's vibration, it's silent intention. Have you ever had the impression that your pet knew when you were sad, even before you accepted it yourself? Or have you had that strange and sacred moment when you looked at them and felt an inexplicable exchange, as if something from them entered you and something of yours surrendered to them? Well, that's the language of the soul. And it doesn't need a voice. Animals, especially those with whom we have spiritual bonds, are masters of nonverbal communication. They pick up vibrational patterns, read our energy field, and convert that into actions. Sometimes they sit by our side in silence, because in that moment, silence heals more than any word. On other days, they jump happily because your soul needs light. They feel what you don't say, and they respond to what you haven't even noticed yet. There's also what's called telepathic communication between species. This form of mental and spiritual contact has been studied and reported by thousands of people around the world. It's the phenomenon of thinking something, like, now I'm going to take him to the park, and before you even move or grab the leash, the animal is already passionately waiting at the door. Or, even more subtle, you having a dream, and in it your deceased dog appears, looking into your eyes and telling you, I'm still with you. These experiences are real for those who live them, and they reveal something precious. Spiritual bonds transcend time and matter. The energy of love is the bridge that allows this continuous energetic communication. Another curious phenomenon involves synchronicities. People report that at certain critical moments in their lives, they start seeing images of animals, hearing typical noises, having visions, or finding objects that remind them of that deceased companion. Sometimes a scent that reminds them of a walk, a toy that reappears out of nowhere, a specific sound. All these are signs, messages that cross the veil between worlds and touch the soul. Furthermore, many deep healings happen in this invisible field. The simple act of the animal resting near your bed when you're sick, or becoming restless before an emotional crisis, already shows that they are acting as a channel of vibrational healing. They have an extremely keen energetic perception. They pick up subtle changes in the surrounding field and respond with love, instinct, and wisdom. Science may even call this animal empathy, but at the spiritual level, what happens is a dance of recognition and presence. It's soul meeting soul and saying, I feel you, even when you think you're alone. Animals don't speak, but they say everything. And when you start listening with your heart, this dialogue becomes more constant, clearer, deeper. They are here, connected by invisible threads of love, and they just wait for you to remember how to listen. If you're feeling your heart vibrate with all this, your energy is remembering. Share in the comments if you've ever experienced something like this. A dream with your deceased pet, a moment of healing, a telepathic perception. These exchanges between souls are sacred, and by sharing, we help others remember too. Like this video, subscribe to this channel, and keep following us on this journey of awakening, love, and reconnection with invisible truth that no real bond ever breaks. We're just beginning to scratch the surface. In the next topics, we'll explore the role of animals as healers and spiritual guardians, beings who walk between worlds to protect, guide, and balance our paths. Get ready. The deepest is yet to come. There are moments when we feel shattered inside, when the pain seems greater than any explanation, and words can't reach the dark silence that takes over the soul. But then something magical happens. A wet snout touches our leg. A soft purr vibrates in the silence of the night. A pair of ancient eyes, eyes that don't judge, don't demand, don't charge, simply look at us. There, effortlessly, a healing process begins. Did you know that many animals came not just to accompany us, but to heal us? They are energetic specialists, true frequency transmitters that act on our subtle fields. In moments of intense pain, grief, physical or emotional illnesses, they position themselves by our side as if they know exactly what's happening, and most of the time, they do. They don't just perceive the pain, they absorb it. Some cats simply lie on diseased areas. Dogs cry along when their human is in crisis. Birds sing more intensely in the presence of sadness, and certain animals even get sick out of love. because their spiritual contract authorizes them to act as anchors, vibrational shields, emotional filters. They protect us from dense energies and align us with higher frequencies. Some traditions say that animals are the first to sense the approach of entities, both negative and beneficial, and act before anything manifests. A bark in the middle of the night may not just be a noise. It could be a subtle cry from the soul saying, "I'm defending you in the invisible." Spiritual protectors came to Earth with courage, in the form of paws, wings, or claws. But their mission is silent and divine, to preserve our light. There are reports of animals that completely changed the destiny of their owners. People who were on the verge of taking their own lives, but decided to stay because they couldn't bear to leave their animal alone. Others prevented accidents, foresaw terminal illnesses, awakened their humans to a spiritual calling. They are true guardians, like silent knights who watch over the heart from the other side of matter. And the most beautiful part, they never expect gratitude. They don't seek trophies, medals, or recognition. Their missions are driven only by love and purpose. And when they leave, because one day everyone leaves, they leave behind not just longing, but healing. A scar with light, a memory that pulsates with purpose. They don't go away, they just transform their way of being. If your animal has been with you in the most difficult moments, if they seem to know beforehand, if you breathe today, thanks to their silent presence, know this, you are accompanied by a soul healer, and that is sacred. Now let's take an even deeper step into spiritual consciousness, a step beyond the idea of contracts between two distinct souls. What if your animal's soul is in fact a part of your own soul, or rather, an energetic fragment, lovingly separated from you, to help you remember who you are? This is an advanced concept, but increasingly present in esoteric studies, metaphysical traditions, and modern psychic perceptions, that of soul fragmentation. The idea that our higher consciousness, upon incarnating, is not limited to a single body, but can divide into various simultaneous experiences in multiple times, dimensions, and, yes, even species. Your divine essence might be living more than one experience on this earth at the same time, as a human, as an animal, as subtle energy. And in many cases, these fragments intersect to accelerate processes of healing, reconnection, and expansion of consciousness. The soul of your dog, your cat, that horse with whom you form deep bonds, can be an extension of your own divine spark, disguised in another body, to remind you, don't forget who you are. Because when you look at them, when you care for, love, protect, you are in fact loving yourself with a purity that only the unconditional can manifest. This would explain why certain animals seem to know our most intimate secrets, why they anticipate our fears, why, even when we're wrong, they stay by our side without judgment. They are not outside us. They are in us. They are conscious pieces of our own light, with their own autonomy, love, and wisdom. There are also reports of souls inhabiting two bodies at the same time, creating immediate and inexplicable bonds. People who meet an animal and at the moment of touch feel as if they have met, not as two separate beings, but as fragments that have finally reunited. It's something you don't think about, you just feel. A reunion with what is beyond the self. And here, perhaps the most powerful explanation, in a world where we forget who we are, where we put on social masks, expectations, and traumas, animals come to show us the purest part of our being, the part that feels without fear, that lives in the present, that loves without ego. They give us back what we lost when we grew up, the essential innocence of the soul. And when we look at them with this perspective, not just as external companions, but as living extensions of our own divinity, everything changes. Every gesture becomes a prayer. Every encounter, a memory. Every farewell, a return home. If you've made it this far, if you've opened your heart to these truths, then something within you has already remembered, perhaps a smell, an image, a gaze, the memory of a love that transcends species, time, and language. The bonds with the animals that marked your life are not by chance. Every presence was planned, desired, combined long before you were born. They are pacts written with light, soul contracts that spread between worlds, and you are part of that. Value every touch, every exchange of glances. Every day by the side of that friend you feel, you know, came to help you awaken. Knowing or not, remembering or not, you are pilgrims of the stars. reuniting to fulfill secret missions. When we treat our animals as sacred spiritual beings and recognize ourselves in them, the world begins to change. Because we return to feeling what is true and eternal, the love that heals without demanding, protects without asking, and walks by our side until the last breath. Now, share your story. Tell us in the comments if you've ever experienced such a deep connection with an animal that it couldn't be explained, only felt. A dream that revealed more than it seemed. A gaze that touched so deeply that tears came unbidden. A farewell that seemed final, but resurfaced in another body, another time, another space. These stories are not just beautiful, they are portals. Like this video if it touched you. Send it to someone who loves animals and feels there's something more at play in this ancient relationship. And above all, subscribe to this channel. Here we create a community of awakened souls who remember that everything is intertwined, that love doesn't die, it just changes form. If an animal looked into your eyes as if they saw your soul, listen to what they wanted to say. Feel it. Tell them in silence, I recognize you. I remember. Thank you for reminding me too. Because deep down, no animal enters our lives by chance. They come. Subscribe to the channel and leave your like to access more stories like this, to heal us, to protect us, and above all, to love us with the purity of someone who has known us many lives ago.